Welcome to Wisdom of the World. Today I'm going to tell a story from the Squamish Indians of Canada. It's an old story and it's about what is the truth really nowadays. It is called The Fate of Napoleon. And it goes like this. In the latter part of the 18th century, this is when Napoleon was alive, what did the Squamish Indians, who lived just a little bit north of Vancouver, way in the west, on the Pacific side of Canada, what did they know about France? Not much, you would say. Quebec on the eastern side was a French colony, but that's not where they got their information from. They say they got their information from the west, from the Pacific side of Canada. Now, much later, around 1900, there was a chief Capilano from the Squamish Indian that came to London. He came to negotiate support to the British at that time. And he told an amazing story about the relationship of the Squamish Indians of Canada and Napoleon. You see, in those days, the Squamish Indians believed in lucky charms, sort of a talisman, an object that gives you great luck. And that object was always made from the spine of a sea snake, a sea serpent. Terrifying creature. And if you had one of those talismans, your enemies would just fall for you. They would be paralyzed, would not know what came to them. So once there was a great warrior, and like all lives, that life also came to an end, and he was about to die, and he had not yet found another great warrior to give his lucky charm to. And a lot of people, his family, were all sitting around his bedside. There were a lot of his mom even, and other old ladies, but also younger ladies were sitting there. But he said, please, give this amulet, make sure this amulet that I have, this talisman, to the great French warrior Napoleon. And then he died. Now the older generation there of the Indians, they said, oh, forget it, let's just bury that amulet with him in his grave. But the younger generation said, no, let's carry out his wish. We'll find a way to do it. And so they kept the talisman in a safe place. You see, the magicians of that Indian tribe made sure that that talisman would not hurt anybody else but their enemies. Now, the next day, those ladies were standing at the sea, the Pacific Sea, huge ocean, and they saw that had come in a boat. There was a boat from Russia, the side of Russia, and a lot of business was going on. They were getting fresh water, etc. And they were actually a hunting exhibition. And then they knew somebody, some white guy on board, and they said, do you know anybody who had ever any news of this French guy called Napoleon? And this guy said, well, your luck, ladies, look, do you see those two guys over there on board? And they saw those two guys, very skinny, and they were badly treated, more like slaves. And he says, yes, they are French, so maybe they can help you. So the ladies waited, finally got to talk to these two Frenchmen and said, will you please take this amulet to Napoleon, your great French warrior? And they hesitated. They said, well, look, we don't even know whether we're ever going to make it back to our country. And also, we are not sure this amulet, why will it not harm us? And the lady said, if we give this to you in peace, it will not harm you, it will only harm your enemies. So after some convincing, they finally agreed to take the talisman. And then the boat set off, and the ladies watched this boat disappear over the ocean, but they saw a very strange sight. They could still see the boat. All of a sudden they saw that everybody was falling overboard, except these two Frenchmen. And then when this boat got a little further, was in full sea, the Frenchmen were in charge of the boat. And that's when they saw it disappear. Now, many, many, many years later, they heard what had happened. And they heard that those Frenchmen made it, thanks to the amulet, back to their country. And they were so grateful to the Indians that they actually brought that amulet to Napoleon and gave it to him. And this is, says Chief Capilano, who was telling this story, gave Napoleon even greater power, and all his enemies just fled and died before him. Except one time, he said, because he was telling this story to the British, and that's when he was fighting your tribe. And the audience, the British, were then asking him, what battle was that? And he says, yes, I know, it's a hard name for us to pronounce. It's called Waterloo. And he said, at the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon had accidentally mislaid, put somewhere else on purpose, misplaced the amulet. And that's why he lost that battle and the British won. Now, you see how news travels to the strangest parts of this world. Now, why am I telling you this story? I think we live in an age of disinformation. Fake news abounds. It is everywhere. So how do we know what is true and what is not true? I think in general there's two things that you can do. One is check the source. Is the source reliable? Is the reporter, the journalist, credible? And the second thing you can do is that a belief, even maybe your belief, or is it a scientifically established fact? I think personally that Napoleon never benefited from a Squamish amulet. I think that's a belief. That's not the hard truth. So I think the challenge of the current new generation is to develop tools that help us to discern, to distinguish between what is true and what is not true. There is only one truth. If you have any comments or suggestions for other stories, I'm happy to hear them. Thank you.